self-talk, you lying. Why you always lying?
Don Daniels with WSU mishandled the DNA that was taken from Brian Kohberger's apartment for 10 days. And instead of telling Ann Taylor, instead of driving her little fucking happy ass the 10 minutes it takes to get to Moscow, she let it sit there, never told anyone. And then on whatever date it was, 10 days later after his arrest, Ann Taylor goes and meets up with her in Pullman at Brian's apartment. And she hands her the folder and says, oh, by the way, I forgot to add this to the evidence that we collected. And it's all 3 of the clippings of DNA from his apartment. Now, granted, they didn't match anything to the victims. If they would have tried to match anything to the victims, then this would be a bigger issue than it is. Okay. But that bitch got a promotion. She's now the chief of police. How do you mishandle and not 10 days? You had that shit in your possession for 10 days.
Why you always lying?
And you would be wrong yet again, Jules. Dawn Daniels did not mishandle the samples. In fact, she had put them in the evidence lockup. Let's read what she wrote about what happened on December 30th. That was the day they did the warrant on his apartment. She said, I left a copy of the amended warrant for the residence and storage closet, along with a log of the items seized from the apartment on the couch. She goes on to say, I transported all the items seized to the WSU Police Department, where it was stored in evidence locker 35. All the items remained stored in locker 35 until they were transferred to Idaho State Police. So did you catch that? She transported all of the items to locker 35, and they were there until ISP picked them up. So this is important because I don't think you read this part. That's why you're misunderstanding what happened on the 10th. So she says, I later realized I did not leave a copy of what samples were collected from the apartment with the warrant and log of items seized. I later returned to the apartment and attempted to slide an amended log under the door, but the door was sealed too tight to allow the envelope to pass through. I also advised the PA of the issue. So it's not that she didn't put the samples in the lockup. She did. It's that she forgot to put A, B, and C on the log. So she forgot to write down what samples were collected. Not that she had forgot the samples. Okay? Okay, now we are on the 10th. She says, while at the apartment, I explained to the attorney I had forgotten to include the 3 samples taken from the apartment and provided her a copy of the return of search. She took the return of search and took the copy of the amended warrant and the item seized log from the couch. So she had told her she had forgotten to put the samples on the log. I know she doesn't explicitly say on the log in this report, but that's what she was talking about. She did not have the samples. Those had already been picked up by ISP. Okay? Had you read the reports, you would know this. So had you walked your happy ass little fingers over to the rest of the warrant documents, here's what you would see. In that search warrant document, the 166 pages, there was the return of service. And this was the amended return of service. And it was amended because she had added A, B, and C on there because she had forgot to put them on there initially. And then also in that warrant document drop, there was her 3rd page to the evidence log. That's where you got A, B, and C because she had forgot to put those originally on the log. And had your happy ass little fingers looked further, you would see that included with those documents is when Jeffrey Talbot picked up the 3 samples. Oh, what's this? He picked them up on January 3rd. Well, how is that possible if Dawn Daniels forgot to put them in the evidence lockup and had them with her until January 10th? You claim she mishandled them, but yet Jeffrey Talbot picked up those 3 samples from the lockup on January 3rd. Interesting. And had you walked your happy-ass little fingers over to the ISP lab document drop, you would see that items 101, 102, and 103, which were those 3 samples, were received at the ISP lab on January 6, 2023. How is that possible if you claim Dawn had them in her possession and gave them to Ann Taylor on the 10th? Weird, huh? And if you had walked your happy-ass little fingers further into the ISP document, you would see that those 3 samples were analyzed on January 10th, 2023. So on the same day you claim that she was handing the samples to Ann Taylor, they were being analyzed in Meridian in the lab. Interesting, isn't it? So, Miss Ma'am, maybe you shouldn't accuse people of mishandling evidence when you can't even seem to read the documents properly. Okay? Do better.